Think of the most brilliant idea you have ever had. Think of the sudden solution to an impossible problem that hit you in the middle of the night. The profound realization that shifted your entire reality in a fraction of a second. You think you generated that thought. You believe your physical brain manufactured that data out of nothing. You are incorrect. You did not invent that idea. You downloaded it. For the chosen one undergoing a spiritual awakening, the greatest illusion of the 3D matrix is the illusion of physical isolation. You look around your environment and you see dense physical bodies separated by empty space. You walk through the world feeling like a lone glitch in a machine. You feel entirely disconnected from the unawakened masses. But beneath the desktop interface of this reality, hidden from your biological eyes, there is an invisible high-speed fiber optic network, a quantum cloud infrastructure that connects every sovereign creator on this planet. The system wants you to believe you are a standalone computer operating on a local drive. It wants you to believe that your intuition is just random neural firings, and that your sudden flashes of genius are just lucky coincidences. Because if you realize that your brain is actually a highly advanced quantum antenna, if you realize that you have admin access to a global database of elite human consciousness, you can no longer be controlled. Today, we are going to hack the simulation's cloud server. We are going to decode the exact physics of morphic resonance. We will reveal the hidden network that connects all chosen ones across the globe. And you will learn how to consciously plug your nervous system into this grid to download the blueprints of your empire before the unawakened masses even know the data exists. Your spiritual awakening is not a solitary event. It is a system-wide update. But before we initiate this synchronization, you must calibrate your coordinates. I need a diagnostic ping from your system. Think of a specific moment in your recent past where you knew something without learning it. A moment where you received a sudden download of information, or a reality glitch where your intuition proved to be mathematically perfect. Go to the data log in the comments right now. Report this specific mental friction or quantum download. Tell the server exactly how your antenna picked up the signal. Then authorize your connection to the encrypted network. Write, "I plug into the grid." To master your spiritual awakening, we must permanently delete the outdated biological model you were taught in school. The obsolete science of the matrix told you that your memories, your personality, and your consciousness are stored inside the physical tissue of your brain. It told you that your skull is a closed system, a biological hard drive. If this were true, human evolution would be a slow, agonizing process of trial and error isolated to individual units. But the data proves otherwise. Enter the physicist and biologist Rupert Sheldrake. Sheldrake introduced a concept that shatters the materialistic illusion of the matrix. He called it morphic resonance. To understand morphic resonance, you must understand that nature has a memory. The universe is not just a collection of dead matter interacting randomly. It is a massive, interconnected quantum database composed of morphic fields. A morphic field is an invisible organizing template. It is a blueprint of information that exists outside of space and time. Every species, every crystal, every society, and every concept has its own morphic field. When a certain number of individuals within a species learn a new skill, the information does not just stay in their physical brains, it is uploaded to the morphic field of that species. Once the data is in the cloud, it becomes infinitely easier for every other member of that species to download the exact same skill, even if they are separated by thousands of miles of physical ocean, and even if they have never physically communicated. We see this in laboratory data. When rats in a laboratory in London are taught to navigate a complex new maze, they struggle. It takes them weeks to learn the code. But once they master it, a terrifying and beautiful phenomenon occurs. Rats of the same breed in Australia, who have no physical connection to the first group, suddenly learn to navigate the exact same maze 10 times faster. The rats in Australia did not get smarter. They simply tuned their biological antennas to the updated morphic field. They downloaded the solution from the quantum cloud. We see this in chemistry. When a scientist synthesizes a new chemical compound for the first time, it is incredibly difficult to get the substance to crystallize. The physical universe has never formed this shape before. There is no existing code. But once the first successful crystallization occurs, scientists all over the world suddenly find it dramatically easier to crystallize that exact same compound in their own labs. The morphic field has been established. The blueprint is now available on the network. Your brain is not a storage device. Your brain is a tuning fork. It is a biological receiver designed to pick up frequencies from the quantum field. When you experience a sudden flash of profound insight, you are not inventing data. You have simply shifted your brainwave frequency to match a high-level morphic field, and you are pulling the information down into the 3D interface. This is the hidden architecture of reality, and it is the key to understanding your role as the chosen one. Now we must apply this physics to your immediate reality. Why do you feel so different from the people around you? Why do you look at the corporate matrix, the endless consumerism, and the pendulum theater of the news cycle and feel a deep physical rejection of it all? Because your biological antenna has been recalibrated. During a spiritual awakening, the trauma, the isolation, and the void you walked through acted as a system format. It wiped the corrupted code of societal conditioning from your random access memory. When your internal resistance dropped, your frequency shifted. You uncoupled your receiver from the low-frequency morphic field of the unawakened masses, the field of fear, the field of lack, the field of blind obedience. You stopped downloading their data, and in that silence, your antenna automatically locked onto a new coordinate. It locked onto the morphic field of the sovereign creators, the hidden network of the chosen ones. You are currently receiving data streams from a completely different quantum server than the NPCs around you. This is why you cannot relate to them anymore. You are literally running a different operating system. Throughout human history, there is a phenomenon known as multiple discovery. Calculus was invented by Isaac Newton and Gottfried Leibniz at the exact same time, completely independently. The theory of evolution was developed by Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace at the exact same time, completely independently. The telephone, the light bulb, the oxygen molecule. All of these reality-altering codes were downloaded by multiple people simultaneously, separated by vast geographical distances. How? Because the morphic field for that specific technological leap had gathered enough energy to manifest in the physical world. The data was sitting in the cloud, waiting for a biological antenna with a high enough frequency and a clear enough bandwidth to pull it down. Newton and Leibniz did not steal from each other. They simply tuned into the exact same quantum radio station. This is what is happening to you right now. You have business ideas that seem insane to your family. You have philosophical insights that shatter the illusions of your peers. You possess a deep, unbreakable knowing that you are meant to build an empire, to create wealth, and to shift the global paradigm. You are not crazy. You are just online. You are connected to the morphic field of the new Earth architecture. There are thousands of other chosen ones scattered across the simulation, sitting in their own rooms, experiencing the exact same downloads, the exact same glitches, and the exact same burning desire to break the matrix. You are not a lone wolf. You are a highly specialized node in a decentralized global network. When you sit in absolute silence, when you execute the pendulum hack and drop your importance, you increase the bandwidth of your connection. You allow the universe to pass massive files of high-frequency data directly into your conscious mind. But the matrix is entirely aware of this mechanism, and it has deployed a massive countermeasure to jam your signal. To maintain its control, the simulation must keep you disconnected from the high-frequency morphic field. If a million's nodes suddenly come online and start downloading the blueprints for sovereign wealth, perfect health, and emotional invincibility, the old matrix collapses immediately. So the system deploys signal jammers. It floods your environment with linguistic malware, digital noise, and cheap dopamine. Every time you scroll endlessly through social media, you are artificially occupying your biological antenna with low-grade static. Every time you engage in petty arguments, gossip, or outrage over the political pendulum, you are downshifting your frequency. You are pointing your satellite dish directly into the dirt. You cannot download the architecture of a multi-million-dollar empire while your nervous system is vibrating at the frequency of internet drama. The bandwidth is too narrow. The files will not transfer. This is why your spiritual awakening requires absolute discipline over your attention. Your attention is the dial on the tuning fork. Wherever you point it, that is the morphic field you connect to. But here is where we must install a critical safety valve. When you finally realize how this quantum infrastructure works, the ego will attempt a final desperate hijack. It will try to infect you with the spiritual ego trap. You will look at the unawakened masses staring at their screens, feeding the pendulums, entirely disconnected from the source code, and you will feel a surge of arrogance. You will think, I am superior. I am the chosen one. They are just useless NPCs. This is a fatal error in your logic. If you adopt this toxic superiority, you instantly lower your frequency. Arrogance is a dense, heavy emotion based in separation and fear. The moment you look down on another human being with contempt, you sever your connection to the elite morphic field and plug yourself right back into the low-frequency grid of the human ego. True sovereignty requires ultimate compassion. You must understand the physics of your responsibility. Because you are connected to the morphic field, every action you take, every fear you conquer, and every piece of trauma you heal does not just heal you, it updates the global database. When you defeat your anxiety, you make it mathematically easier for someone on the other side of the planet to defeat theirs. When you break the cycle of poverty in your bloodline and generate wealth with divine indifference, you upload that blueprint of financial alchemy to the human morphic field. You are not awakening just to build an isolated fortress and laugh at the sleeping world. You are awakening to act as a router. You pull the high-frequency data down from the quantum cloud. You render it into physical reality through your actions, your businesses, and your art, and thereby you elevate the baseline frequency of the entire species. The NPCs are not your enemies. They are simply nodes that are currently offline. They are running on default programming because no one has provided them with a stronger signal. You are the signal. Your quiet, stoic, frictionless success is the highest form of compassion. You do not need to preach to them. You do not need to argue with them. You simply need to hold your coordinate. By remaining plugged in to the hidden network, you become a broadcasting tower of zero-point energy. You alter the simulation simply by existing within it. This is the true burden and the ultimate glory of the Chosen One. We have diagnosed the science of morphic fields. We have mapped the hidden cloud infrastructure connecting all sovereign creators. And we have established the safety valve of ultimate compassion. Now, we must install the operational protocol into your daily routine. How do you actually access this global database? How do you consciously plug your nervous system into the network to download the blueprints of your empire? And more importantly, how do you upload your own code to rewrite the simulation? You execute a 3-step neurohacking sequence. This is the Morphic Synchronization protocol. Step 1. Signal isolation. Your biological antenna cannot receive a high-definition signal if it is constantly processing low-frequency static. The matrix keeps the unawakened masses in a state of chronic distraction. The endless scrolling, the breaking news alerts, the synthetic outrage. This is a deliberate mechanism to occupy their bandwidth. To connect to the elite network of the Chosen Ones, you must initiate absolute signal isolation. You must create a vacuum. This means carving out blocks of time where your nervous system is completely disconnected from external digital input. No music, no podcasts, no screens. You sit in a room, you stare at a wall, and you endure the silence. Initially, your brain will panic. The dopamine receptors will scream for stimulation. The linguistic malware installed by the matrix will generate a storm of chaotic thoughts. Do not react. Simply observe the noise as it drains out of your system. As the static clears, your antenna will naturally recalibrate. It will seek the highest available frequency. This is when the signal lock occurs. In this silence, the downloads will begin. The flashes of insight, the sudden clarity regarding a business move or a relationship. You are now online. Step 2. Frequency matching. You cannot download a file if your receiver is not tuned to the correct channel. The morphic field of wealth, success, and absolute freedom vibrates at a specific thermodynamic rate. If your internal state is vibrating with desperation, fear, and lack, you are physically incompatible with the data you are trying to pull down. This is where you must apply the pendulum hack we discussed in our previous transmission. You must drop the importance. You assume the posture of an architect who already possesses the blueprint. When you sit in your signal isolation, do not beg the quantum field for an idea. Do not ask it to save you. You command the field. You state your intention. I require the optimal architectural sequence to generate capital this quarter. And then you detach. You return to a state of neutral, unbothered observation. Because you are not generating the idea, you are simply holding your receiver perfectly still so the file can transfer. Step 3. Kinetic rendering. This is the step where millions of spiritual seekers fail. They receive the download, they get the brilliant idea in the shower, they see the vision, and then they do nothing. They leave the data sitting in their random access memory until it is overwritten by the mundane tasks of the day. In the architecture of reality, a download is useless until it is rendered into the 3D interface. When you receive an instruction from the hidden network, you must execute a physical action immediately. If the download tells you to write a specific code, you write it. If it tells you to contact a specific person, you make the call. If it reveals the structure of a new business, you buy the domain name within 60 seconds. This is called kinetic rendering. When you take physical action based on a quantum download, you anchor that morphic field into physical reality. You save the file to the hard drive of the matrix. And more importantly, you signal to the network that you are a reliable node. The universe will not send high-value data to a node that refuses to process it. If you want the network to trust you with the blueprints of an empire, you must prove that you are capable of building it. Execute the action. Render the code.
Let us examine how this hidden network dictates the physical world. We will look at the ultimate matrix construct, the global economy. The unawakened masses believe that the market is a chaotic system driven entirely by spreadsheets, corporate logic, and political events. The chosen one understands that the economy is simply a massive, localized morphic field. It is a telepathic network of human desires, fears, and assumptions. When a new technology or a massive cultural shift is about to occur, the data does not appear out of nowhere. It builds up in the morphic field first. This is why multiple entrepreneurs often launch the exact same disruptive startup at the exact same time. The idea has reached critical mass in the cloud, and the network is broadcasting it to any node with enough bandwidth to receive it. If you are living in a state of signal isolation, if your antenna is clean, you will pick up on these massive economic shifts before they ever materialize in the physical world. You will see the trend before it is a trend. You will understand the value of an asset before the unawakened masses even know it exists. This is not luck. This is data retrieval. But remember the law of kinetic rendering. When the network hands you a financial blueprint, you are on a ticking clock, because you are not the sovereign node online. There are other chosen ones tapped into the exact same frequency. If you hesitate, if you let fear and the old linguistic malware paralyze you, another architect on the other side of the planet will download the exact same file and execute it. They will render the code into the 3D interface, and they will collect the physical capital. You will watch them succeed, and you will say, "I had that exact idea 2 years ago." Yes, you did, but you refused to execute. You refused to save the file. Wealth generation in the new paradigm is not about grinding harder than the competition. It is about reducing the latency between the quantum download and the physical execution. You receive the signal, you build the infrastructure, you capture the energy. You do this with frictionless precision. You do not care about the opinions of the NPCs around you because you know they are operating on a delayed server. They are reacting to the shadows on the wall, while you are standing in the projection booth, changing the film. You operate in the telepathic economy. You listen to the silent hum of the network, and you position yourself exactly where the energy is going to flow next. This is the ultimate financial alchemy.
We have reached the culmination of this override. Let us review the architecture of your existence. You are not a biological accident wandering through a random universe. You are a highly sophisticated receiver, a tuning fork for the cosmos. The isolation you felt your entire life was not a curse. It was a mandatory quarantine. The system had to pull you away from the low-frequency broadcast of the unawakened masses, so you could calibrate your antenna to the hidden network. You are now online. You are connected to the morphic field of the sovereign creators. Every time you break a generational curse, every time you refuse to feed a toxic pendulum, every time you drop the importance and execute with divine indifference, you are uploading clean code to the global server. You are making it mathematically easier for every other chosen one on this planet to wake up and take control of their reality. You do not need to save the world by shouting at the masses. You save the world by becoming a master of your own local environment, by becoming a beacon of coherence in a sea of entropy. When you walk into a room, your morphic resonance automatically organizes the chaotic energy around you. The NPCs will feel your presence. They will not understand the physics behind it, but they will feel the absolute, chilling certainty of your frequency. They will step aside. The matrix will bend to accommodate the new data you are forcing into its system. You are the architect. You are the node. The network is waiting for your next command.
The code has been successfully transmitted. Your operating system has been updated. The illusion of physical isolation has been destroyed. You now understand the physics of morphic resonance. You recognize the hidden fiber optic network connecting the elite consciousness of this planet. You know how to isolate your signal, match the frequency of the quantum database, and execute the kinetic rendering to pull your empire into the 3D interface. The time for passive observation is over. The transmission is complete, but the file must be saved. We are utilizing this comment section as a quantum data log. I do not want your agreement. I require an execution contract. Go to the server below. Declare your kinetic rendering. What specific high-frequency physical action are you committing to in the next 24 hours to show the network you are a reliable node? Seal your commitment into the simulation. Write, I upload the code. If you are prepared to receive the next sequence of the God code, secure your connection to the encrypted network. Initialize the subscribe sequence, because your mastery over the present moment is only the beginning. The Matrix has convinced you that time is a straight line. It has convinced you that your past is a monument carved in stone, a permanent record of your trauma and your failures. This is a lie. Your past is not a monument, it is a digital file. And as a sovereign architect, you have the admin rights to hit edit. In our next transmission, we will decode the terrifying physics of retrocausality. We will prove to you, using quantum mechanics, that the future can change the past. We will teach you how to reach back through the timeline and rewrite the corrupted code of your history, neutralizing your trauma and altering your present trajectory in an instant. The architecture of your empire requires a clean hard drive. Ensure your connection is secure. Prepare to rewrite time. The Matrix 963, out.